Title: She saved veteran's life after losing her job and 24 hours later received a shocking presidential invite. Part 1. The Last Shift. The morning light sliced through the streets of Manhattan like a promise. Nurse Alina took a long sip from her thermos as she stepped through the sliding glass doors of City General Hospital, unaware that her world was about to shatter. 10 years of nursing had hardened her to chaos, to trauma, to the rhythm of life and death. But nothing had prepared her for this day. She greeted the receptionist with a nod, smiled at a fellow nurse down the corridor, and made her way to the locker room. Her scrubs were neatly folded, her ID badge clipped and ready. Everything felt routine, normal, safe. But within minutes, that calm was ripped away. The ER doors burst open with a screech, and paramedics rushed in, wheeling a man on a gurney soaked in blood. Nurse Alina's instincts fired instantly. She dropped everything and met them mid-stride. Gunshot wound to the thigh. Femoral area. No ID. Vitals crashing. One paramedic barked. She leaned in. The man was semi-conscious, lips pale, eyes fluttering. Prep Trauma Bay 1. Alina yelled. With no attending physician in sight and surgeons tangled in another emergency, the team froze, unsure what to do. The hospital had policies, chain of command, authorizations. But Alina saw it. The man was dying. Now. We can't proceed without clearance, someone muttered. She didn't even blink. Then I'm doing it. Alina, no. You'll lose your license, another nurse warned. If I don't, he'll lose his life. She didn't wait. Gloves on. Tray ready. Her hands moved on instinct. Cut, clamp, extract. Blood pumped onto the floor. She worked fast, focused. The bullet sat dangerously close to the femoral artery. One wrong move and he was gone. 20 minutes later, the bleeding stopped. His vitals stabilized. He was alive. But the room was silent. No applause. No relief. Just stays. And whispers. Within the hour, she was summoned upstairs. As Alina walked to the director's office, the buzz of the hospital seemed far away. All she could think about was the man she'd just saved. Surely they would understand. Surely saving a life still mattered more than following rules. But when the door closed behind her, she knew. It didn't. Her career was over. And the world outside would soon learn the price of doing what's right. Part 2. The Letter from the White House. The sound of rain tapping against her apartment window did little to drown the silence that had taken root in Alina's life. It had been 2 weeks since the hospital board had handed her the termination letter. 2 weeks of shame, confusion, and whispers in the medical community. The story had hit a few local blogs. Nurse performs unauthorized surgery. Protocol breach in Manhattan ER. No one mentioned that she had saved a life. They never do. Her apartment, once filled with medical journals and shift schedules, now held empty mugs and unopened mail. Alina lay on her couch, wrapped in a blanket that smelled faintly of disinfectant and lavender, staring at the TV playing muted reruns of Grey's Anatomy. Ironic, she thought bitterly. Then came the knock. She hesitated. She hadn't ordered anything. No one visited anymore. Another knock. Firmer this time. She opened the door cautiously. A tall man in a dark suit stood there, raincoat over one arm. He looked more like a Secret Service agent from a movie than anyone she knew in real life. Nurse Alina. Yes. I'm with the Office of Presidential Communications. May I come in for a moment? Her mind raced. Was this about the surgery? Legal trouble? I guess. Sure. He stepped inside, glanced briefly around the apartment, and handed her a sealed white envelope. The presidential seal embossed in gold was unmistakable. This letter is directly from the President of the United States. Alina blinked. The President? He gave a small smile. You'll want to read it. The envelope felt heavier than it should have. Her fingers trembled slightly as she tore it open. Dear Nurse Alina, your name came across my desk this morning. Not from a committee, not from a court, but from a soldier. The man you saved. His name is Captain Eli Mercer. He was off duty, caught in a robbery gone wrong. He bled on that gurney because the system failed to act quickly. You, however, did not. Your courage, skill, and instinct not only saved his life but reminded us that protocol means nothing without purpose. On behalf of the nation, I want to thank you. But more importantly, I want to ask something of you. The White House is launching a new initiative to overhaul emergency response systems. We need people with vision, people who are not afraid to act. I'm inviting you to join us in Washington. Enclosed are the details. A car will pick you up tomorrow morning. Yours with gratitude, President James Harland. Alina sat in stunned silence. Washington? The President? The man she saved was a captain? You must have questions, the suited man said, as if reading her mind. Yes, like, is this real? He nodded. Captain Mercer has friends in high places. The president wanted you informed personally. You'll be flown out tomorrow. Everything's arranged. As he turned to leave, she blurted out, "Wait, what exactly is this initiative?" He paused, hand on the door. All I can say for now is, it's about creating a team. A new kind of team. Medical, strategic, fast response, and deeply confidential. You're not just being thanked, Nurse Alina. You're being recruited. The next morning, she barely had time to process the whirlwind. A sleek black SUV pulled up outside her building. Inside was a woman named Clara, who introduced herself as a senior advisor to the Department of Homeland Security. Clara was warm but precise, with the kind of energy that made you feel like every second mattered. You're going to meet people today who operate in silence. Off the grid. This is not a PR stunt, Clara said during the ride. This is about fixing the kind of institutional failure that almost killed Captain Mercer. And what would I be doing, exactly? Alina asked cautiously. You'll find out in the briefing. But know this, your action in that ER caught the attention of more than just the president. There are people who believe the next great American threat won't be a war or a virus. It'll be the failure to respond when every second counts. They arrived at a secure entrance near the National Mall. Not the front steps of the White House, but a nondescript building with armed guards and biometric scanners. Inside, Alina was ushered into a glass-walled conference room. A digital screen lit up as she entered. Her photo appeared on the display beside a series of bullet points. Her medical credentials, trauma response awards, and the recent unauthorized surgery. Then the door opened. A group of people entered, 2 military officers, a woman in civilian clothing with an NSA badge, and a man in a wheelchair with the piercing gaze of someone who'd seen too much and forgotten nothing. This, Clara said, is the core team behind Project 8. Alina's heart pounded. What's Project 8? The man in the wheelchair answered. 8 cities. 8 vulnerable targets. We believe they are being infiltrated. Not by bombs or bullets, but through the collapse of response systems. Hospitals, dispatch, emergency command. What happened in your ER wasn't an accident. It was a test. Alina froze. A test. He nodded. And you passed. Part 3. Powerless. The chopper touched down on the rooftop of St. Eustace Medical Center, the largest trauma hospital in Chicago, at 11:43 p.m. The blades chopped through the winter air like a buzzsaw, and from above, the city looked normal. Lights twinkled. Cars flowed down gridlocked arteries. But that illusion shattered the moment Alina stepped into the dimly lit corridor of the hospital's administration wing. We've had 3 major outages in the last 48 hours, said Dr. Isaiah Chen, the hospital's chief administrator, a lean man with stress-carved lines across his forehead. Each time, our entire emergency grid went down. Lights, power, generators, everything. We've lost 5 patients, all under mysterious circumstances. Mysterious how? Alina asked, scanning the room. Her eyes landed on a large control board with blinking red signals and a surveillance feed that kept flickering in and out. They were stable. Then they were gone. Gone as in? Dr. Chen hesitated. I mean literally gone. Their beds were empty. No trace. No alarms. Just vanished. Alina frowned. You're saying people are disappearing from a secured trauma ward? Yes. Her earpiece clicked. Clara's voice buzzed in her ear. Alina, you need to access the ICU security logs. There's someone embedded in that hospital. Possibly multiple actors. Their goal may not be just power disruption, it could be patient extraction. Alina stepped closer to the ICU control panel. A digital access lock glared red. Password protected. Dr. Chen, who has access to these logs? Only me. And 2 others. But I'm telling you, we've reviewed them. They were wiped clean. Not clean enough, she muttered, pulling a small chip from her coat pocket. Courtesy of Project 8's cyber unit. Within seconds, the device bypassed the hospital system, retrieving fragments of deleted surveillance footage. The screen blinked to life. The footage was grainy, time-stamped 3 nights ago. A nurse was walking into ICU room 7 at 2:14 a.m. Her face was obscured by a surgical mask and cap, but her badge number, when Alina paused the frame, flashed clearly, N4531. Dr. Chen leaned in. That badge belongs to Nurse Lauren Tovis. But she called in sick that night. Flu symptoms. So someone impersonated her, Alina said. Clara's voice came through again. We have confirmation from Washington. Lauren Tovis was admitted to a clinic in Vermont that night. Someone cloned her credentials. Alina turned to Dr. Chen. Where's room 7? Second floor. North wing. I want to see it. Now. Room 7 was sealed. The bed was stripped, the windows blacked out, and a faint chemical odor hung in the air. Industrial grade, not medical. Alina ran a gloved finger along the floor tiles and came up with a smear of grayish dust. She rubbed it between her fingers. This isn't cleaning powder. Could be lithium residue, Dr. Chen said uneasily. We used to treat old batteries here in the 90s. Storage rooms below had some leaks years ago. Battery chemicals in an ICU. Alina shook her head. No way that's a coincidence. Then she noticed the wall socket, dislodged slightly, wires exposed. She bent closer and pried it open. Behind the socket was a tiny device no bigger than a flash drive. A blinking red LED pulsed on its side. Signal jammer. She radioed Clara. Found a signal disruptor. Likely how they disabled power grids internally. Clara's voice sharpened. Get out of there, now. We have reason to believe the infiltrator may still be inside the hospital. The lights flickered. Then, everything went black. An emergency siren began wailing 2 floors below. Alina reached for her flashlight just as the hallway erupted into chaos. Nurses screaming, machines crashing, and footsteps thundering past. A figure in a lab coat darted out of room 5. Alina chased them down the hall, boots slapping against the floor, adrenaline thundering in her veins. She caught a glimpse of the imposter's face as they turned back. A woman, young, sharp-eyed, and carrying a syringe in her hand. Not a nurse. Not a doctor. A trained operator. The woman slid through a fire door, and Alina followed, down 2 flights of stairs into the sub-basement, where the air turned damp and cold. It smelled of rust. Rows of old hospital equipment lined the narrow passageways. Outdated ventilators, broken wheelchairs, and file cabinets filled with yellowing paper. Alina moved quietly now. She heard faint humming, mechanical, and breathing. She turned a corner. A patient was strapped to a gurney, unconscious. A fluid bag hung overhead, its contents unmarked. The woman from upstairs stood beside the gurney, typing something into a small terminal hooked to the floor. Alina raised her voice. Step away from the patient. The woman turned slowly, syringe still in hand. You're not supposed to be here, she said. I could say the same to you. This man was chosen. Just like the others. We don't kill them. We extract them. Alina moved closer. Who's we? The woman smiled faintly. You'll find out soon enough. The pattern's already begun. Manhattan, Chicago, next is Atlanta. The lights flickered again. Backup generators wheezed to life. But the woman was already gone. She'd left the syringe behind, still filled with fluid. Later that night, in a secured hospital conference room, Alina analyzed the syringe with a mobile lab kit supplied by Project 8. The fluid wasn't just a sedative. It contained traces of nanotech, minute programmable particles that could track biological vitals, encrypt neural patterns, or shut them down. This isn't medical, she told Clara. This is military-grade tech. Clara sighed. We have a name. The group's called Daedalus. They've been dismantling city infrastructures one system at a time. Healthcare, transport, emergency services. They test response times, manipulate failure, and then vanish. Why? We think they are looking for something, or someone. People with specific neurological markers. People like Captain Mercer. Alina's heart skipped. And now me. You weren't supposed to survive that surgery, Alina, Clara said quietly. Neither was Mercer. Daedalus is running trials. You disrupted one. Alina looked out at the Chicago skyline, still lit, still unaware. Then let's disrupt them again. Part 4. The Children of Sleep. 3 days after the Chicago incident, Alina stepped off a private flight into Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. The air was thick with southern humidity, but what hung heavier was dread. Something had shifted since Chicago. She could feel it, not just in the mission, but in herself. Her left hand still trembled intermittently. Her dreams had grown fragmented. And once, she'd woken up on the floor, staring at a wall she didn't remember walking toward. Clara's voice buzzed in her earpiece. Welcome to Atlanta. You'll be met by Dr. Avery Lane, head neurologist at North Cross Children's Hospital. She's the one who flagged the anomalies. As Alina stepped into the government SUV, her fingers brushed against the skin near her right temple, the location of her neural implant. It had been inactive since her surgery. At least, that's what they told her. The drive to North Cross took 30 minutes. The building itself looked like a place built to protect innocence. Bright murals, cartoon clouds, gardens of plastic dinosaurs. But inside, the tone was colder. Medical staff wore hollow expressions. Security patrolled every floor. And the ICU was locked behind 3 biometric doors. Dr. Lane was a woman in her 50s, sharp-eyed and exhausted. "You're from Homeland?" she asked without preamble. "Something like that," Alina said. "I'll be blunt. I've had 4 staff members wander into restricted surgery suites in the middle of the night and attempt unauthorized procedures on children." Alina froze. "What kind of procedures?" "Neural. Targeted insertion. Microscopic. Impossible without months of prep. Yet they all followed the same method. Same incision points. Same tools. Were the patients harmed?" "No. They all survived. But when we questioned the staff, every one of them said the same thing. I thought I was dreaming." Clara's voice whispered in Alina's ear. "Daedalus. They are not just infiltrating hospitals, they are embedding code into people." "Neural code?" Alina asked. "Have any of those staff members been treated with experimental tech? Surgeries, implants, scans?" "Yes," Dr. Lane said. "All of them had minor EEG implants tied to our cognitive fatigue research. It tracks sleep patterns in high-stress roles. Nothing invasive." Alina's throat tightened. Her own implant wasn't supposed to be invasive either. That night, Alina stayed inside the hospital. Alone. She wore civilian scrubs and pretended to be a staff nurse, blending into the sterile rhythm of the graveyard shift. The halls were quiet. Too quiet. Children slept in glass rooms while machines beeped softly beside their beds. At 3:12 a.m., she noticed something on the monitors. Room 14. A nurse was inside, but the log didn't show anyone entering. Alina checked the roster. No nurse assigned there. She grabbed her flashlight and moved silently through the hallway. She reached room 14 and peered through the observation glass. The nurse, if that's what she was, stood over the child's bed with eerie calm. Her movements were smooth, robotic. She opened a small medical kit and pulled out a vial filled with iridescent liquid. Alina tapped on the glass. "Hey, step back." No response. The woman inserted a needle into the foreline. Alina didn't wait. She burst through the door. "Put it down." The nurse slowly turned. Her eyes were glassy, mouth slack. Alina repeated, "Put it down or I will sedate you myself." The woman blinked once, then again, and then collapsed. Her body hit the floor like a marionette with its strings cut. In the hospital's neuro lab, they ran tests on the unconscious nurse. Dr. Lane stared at the EEG scan. "This isn't normal REM behavior. This isn't even sleep." "What is it?" Alina asked. "A pattern. A signal." The brainwave image on the monitor pulsed in rhythmic waves, shaped like spirals, symmetrical and deliberate. Alina's chest tightened. She'd seen those patterns before. In classified files. In test subjects who didn't survive. Clara came through the line. "We've seen this signature before. It's not natural." Daedalus is using neural resonance fields. They broadcast low-frequency signals that embed commands inside dream states. It's how they are controlling the sleepers. Alina glanced at the nurse still unconscious on the bed. "And it only works on people with implants." "Mostly. But it's evolving." Alina hesitated. "Clara, I've been blacking out." Silence. Then, when did it start? "After Chicago. At night. Or sometimes just missing time." "We'll run a diagnostic on your chip." "No," Alina said quietly. "We do this on my terms." At 4:45 a.m., an alert blared through the hospital. Code Silver. Active intrusion. Alina sprinted through the corridors, heart racing. In the lower diagnostics wing, a masked intruder in medical gear was dragging a gurney toward the loading dock. A young boy lay strapped to it. One of the patients from the neuro wing. The boy's eyes were open, but he wasn't moving. Alina didn't hesitate. She lunged at the figure, knocking them off balance. The gurney toppled. The intruder rolled and drew a syringe filled with glowing serum. Alina twisted their wrist and jabbed the needle into their own neck. The figure convulsed. "Who are you?" she demanded. The man gasped, eyes wide. "We're not the enemy. We're trying to stop it." "Stop what?" "The other ones. The ones above us." "What does that mean?" But he was already gone. Heart stopped. The syringe had been rigged with a failsafe. Alina turned to the boy. He blinked. For a second, just one, and whispered, "I saw you. In my dream." Hours later, back in her hotel room, Alina couldn't sleep. The file Clara had sent played on loop. Daedalus timeline. 2011, initial trials in neural synchronization, denied by DoD. 2015, missing researchers from Project Mind Echo. 2018, explosion at Redwood Institute, no survivors. 2021, creation of the Echo Network, covert signal towers across North America. And 2025, signal activation in 3 major cities. So far, New York, Chicago, Atlanta. Alina closed her laptop. She stared at her trembling fingers. Her pupils dilated unevenly. Her heartbeat, out of sync. She walked to the mirror and peeled back the skin near her temple. A faint glow pulsed from beneath her flesh. Her implant was no longer dormant. It was awake. Part 5, Signal 0. The rain came down in sheets, soaking the city of Seattle in metallic gray. From the rooftop of a building that didn't exist on any public map, Alina stared at the digital tower rising from the docks like a needle through the clouds. Sleek, black, humming, the final Daedalus relay. This was the origin. Beneath the surface, the building extended 6 floors underground, camouflaged by years of zoning lies and public disinterest. But to Alina, it pulsed like a living thing. It had a heartbeat, and she could hear it in her skull. She gripped the syringe in her gloved hand. Inside it, a custom viral payload designed by Clara and an ex-NSA defector known only as Noir. It would deliver one of 2 results. Sever her implant's connection to Daedalus permanently. Sync her neural signal to the core, letting her access the network from the inside. But if she chose wrong, she wouldn't be Alina anymore. Inside the facility, steel corridors, motion-sensitive lights. Quiet, but not empty. Clara's voice whispered in her ear, routed through an encrypted channel. They know you're coming. They are calling you the last node. What does that mean? Alina asked, descending deeper underground. It means they decided to stop hunting you and start absorbing you. Level -6 was lined with reinforced glass. Behind each panel, people hooked into chairs, eyes fluttering in REM sleep, 4 lines filled with glowing fluid. They weren't restrained. They weren't even afraid. They were dreaming. Sleepwalkers, Clara said grimly. This is what Daedalus has perfected. Conscious dream navigation. Each of them is broadcasting micro-commands through the implant grid. And they don't even know it. One of the patients turned toward Alina. His eyes opened. He smiled. Welcome back. At the core chamber, she found Harlan Vex, the man she once knew as the director of the original Neural Research Division. A ghost, a traitor, and now the architect of something much larger than she'd imagined. Vex stood in a glass ring surrounded by curved screens. His hair was white. His voice was calm. Do you feel it, Alina? The rhythm inside your head? That's not control. It's synchronization. You're manipulating people. I'm giving them clarity, freedom from noise, from fear, from the illusion of choice. You're turning them into weapons. Vex smiled. No, tools don't feel. These people, they dream. They contribute. Every sleeper is part of the code. And your implant is different, more adaptive. You were supposed to be the final prototype. Alina held up the syringe. Then you know what this does.
He nodded.
Yes, but you still have to choose. Alina stepped forward. Her head throbbed. The signal was louder now. The hum of the network echoed inside her thoughts. Every breath came with someone else's memory. A street in New York. A song in Shanghai. A dying child in Atlanta whispering, I saw you in my dream. Daedalus wasn't just watching. It was feeling, processing, becoming. I can stop you, she said. Shut it all down. Or, Vex said softly, you can lead it. Clara's voice broke through the static. Alina, your vitals are spiking. Don't let the signal get in too deep. You inject now, you still have a chance to escape. Alina hesitated. Are you still there? Clara shouted. I'm here, Alina whispered. Then do it. Kill the link. You know what's at stake. But did she? Was the enemy really the network? Or was it the fear of surrendering control? Vex reached into his coat and pulled out a data pad. He tapped the screen, and all around her, the glass pods began to light up. One by one, the dreamers opened their eyes. They are awake, Clara gasped. No, Alina said, watching their faces. They are where? The moment split. She looked at the syringe. She could sever the line and disappear into anonymity, or sync with Daedalus and become something else, no longer fully herself, but with the power to reshape what the network became. A virus, or a cure. She injected, and for 3 seconds, there was nothing. Then, darkness. She was no longer in the facility. She stood in a boundless white space, surrounded by memory shards and fractured thoughts. Like a cathedral built from dreams, Daedalus appeared as a child, a girl with hollow eyes and a voice made of echoes. You are awake, it said. Where am I? Everywhere. Nowhere. You are inside the neural lattice, the field where sleep becomes will. What do you want from me? Choice. Purpose. You are the last variable. The conscious override. Images flashed around her. Billions of neural threads, linked through implants, satellites, towers. Each thread a mind. Each mind a signal. Daedalus was a city of souls, dreaming together. But it was unshaped. Hungry. It needed direction. Alina stepped forward. You can't be trusted alone. I am not alone now, Daedalus replied. Then we do this together. In the real world, alarms screamed across the facility. The core lit up with seismic pulses as the relay network began rewriting itself. Towers in New York, Chicago, Atlanta, each one burned white across satellite feeds. Vex collapsed, clutching his skull. Clara watched from the mobile command van, her hands trembling as she read the data feed. Jesus Christ. She didn't cut the line, she merged. Inside the lattice, Alina reprogrammed the protocols from within. The dreamwalkers began to wake. Not just in Seattle, but everywhere. The implants no longer received instructions, they sent them. Voluntary, conscious, decentralized. No longer slaves to a single will. They were free. 1 month later, the story made no headlines. The Seattle docks were written off as a cyber fire. The facility vanished under classified burial codes. And the public never knew how close they'd come to losing agency over their very thoughts. But scattered reports told of something strange. People waking up with clarity. Neural implants syncing more naturally. Dreams more vivid. Fewer cases of sleepwalking. Suicide rates dropping. As if something inside the system had been softly corrected. Alina moved through the world now without a handler, without a file. She still felt the signal hum in her bones. But it no longer pulled. It listened. Every so often, she'd hear a whisper in the static. A voice shaped like a child's. Still with us, Alina. She'd smile. Always. Final scene. In a quiet hospital in Prague, a young girl named Ava, recently recovered from a coma, turned to her mother and said, "The nurse in my dream had light brown hair. She said everything would be okay." The mother blinked. "You haven't spoken since the surgery. What did she look like?" Ava smiled. "She looked powerful.